Welcome to our special edition of Quays News here at Peel Park.
Our main stories: as cost of living continues to bite, are Too Good To Go bags the silver bullet?
And Manchester gathers together in solidarity against the murder of a young woman in Iran.
An ambitious bill aimed at protecting children from vaping introduced today in Parliament.
And a closer look into the online safety bill.
With Aldi introducing Too Good To Go bags, I investigated how the sale of these has impacted food banks. Following the start of the cost of living crisis, the usage of Too Good To Go bags has been on the rise, with Aldi being the latest chain to join. But what is the impact of these bags on food banks? Reverend Sue Thomas from the Ashton Pantry has said these bags have led to less food being available. This bag you can see from Heron Food costs only £3.30 and contained items such as 4 Scotch eggs, 20 cocktail sausages and 1 loaf of bread. Reverend Thomas said that the pantry would only be able to use 3 items due to the sell-by dates and whether these items can be frozen. Juliet Coletta, a chaplain from a Greater Manchester high school, sat down with me to discuss food bags and these bags.
There might be that feeling of a bit of, of stigma to having to go to a food pantry or a food bank to get their food. So I think that again gives them a little bit more of an option, I guess, but also to maybe not do it as openly as if you maybe would go to your local food pantry. So I think that gives people a bit more option in this as well. So yes, that's been a positive development, absolutely, as well. The need has definitely increased, and I would say it's unfortunately continuing to increase. So like I said earlier, because of the Too Good To Go parcels packages that people or supermarkets now are offering, now a lot of other maybe local food pantries or charities are suffering because they also would like the food that they are giving out. So for example, in our local food pantry, a majority of their supply came from local supermarkets, but the need is increasing, so they are being supplied with less food at the moment. So though it has helped in some areas, in some other areas, I think the local food pantries are noticing kind of that the need for food or actually getting the donations in is getting a bit more difficult than before.
It is clear that Too Good To Go bags have an impact, but whether that is positive or negative remains to be seen. As protests continue in Iran, we spoke to Red Roots Collective as they prepare to march in solidarity in Manchester.
Kusha was the first one who introduced it to me because he is Iranian and he knew what was going on, and I was really surprised how little coverage it's actually got in the UK considering such a violent act against women. It really shocked me to think that there's people in that country going through such hardship and such just sexist ideologies and from a government that are using religion as a way to kind of justify how they should treat women, and obviously a death coming from that, and then continuing to kind of add fire to the fuel and not respecting the way that people are like absolutely outraged by the death of this young girl who had like a promising life ahead of her, and for simply a loose hijab makes no genuine sense to me, and just how little coverage it gets is crazy because it's so sad and it's so important, and this is someone's life that's taken away, and it's continuously affecting people that grow up there or who are in Iran.
It's completely different for a grassroots collective like Red Roots Collective, which is working with trade unions and feminist groups and community groups. So we are not after just toppling Islamic Republic of Iran. It is very important for us how we change this government. If it's coming through a genuine organic revolution, that's what we want. But if it's coming through foreign intervention and sanction and war, we know what happened in the Middle East before, and we know it's going to do no good for women and children and people who live there.
The fact that it's even happened to begin with, like people burning their hijabs and just men and women taking to the street and like saying a complete no to what's going on and how they're under such a strict regime is really quite like groundbreaking, and hopefully it will continue. And then through showing solidarity throughout, different cities like Manchester and whatnot, it will hopefully keep it going.
Tom Berrington and Harriet Wall have been looking into a new e-cigarettes bill introduced today in the House of Commons.
Today in the House of Commons, a bill was proposed which aims to ban the sale of disposable vapes and e-cigarettes. The bill aims to reduce nicotine use amongst young people and reduce plastic waste. However, this may have implications on local business owners and adult vape users. We're here to speak to the owner of 15 vape shops across Manchester.
I think it'll have effects on everybody. I mean, we're vaping shops, so we probably sell more than the newsagents. But like now, you've got spa shops, you've got convenience shops, you've got hairdressers, you've got butchers. Everybody is selling. It'll have a massive effect. We probably took on 20 extra staff the last 2 years since the bars has come in, so that'd be 20 staff that would be going if the bars would be banned.
However, with the number of school children using these devices on the rise, MPs hope that this bill will limit accessibility in the future.
So what you've got is a generation of children that may never have smoked because smoking doesn't taste nice and they get put off by that first cigarette, actually addicted to something that has been very appealing from quite a young age. I think I'd want the bill to go a little bit further actually, and to address the marketing and the appearance, as well as perhaps the fact that they're just refillable.
We also spoke to members of the public, and general opinion on the bill seemed divided.
Vaping has become like a very easy thing for like people to sort of get into, and obviously like we don't really know how much of an effect it can have on like your lungs and stuff, or your breathing, or whatever, your health.
I work at a school and I do see it a lot that like kids really are like into it because of the whole like different flavours and stuff. Like I've been asked once to buy a vape from a kid and I was like, absolutely not. But for me, I mean, I don't want it to happen because like I've stopped smoking because of vape, so it's like I'd rather be doing this.
I find myself buying them all the time. However, if I'm kind of limited in how much I can actually buy by law or legislation, it's definitely a positive in terms of like overall health.
Following the arrest of British-American Andrew Tate, the online safety bill has become more prominent and has gained more support in Parliament. Our reporter Kieran Bradley went to find out more for Quays News.
In light of Andrew Tate's recent arrest, the significance of the government's online safety bill has been brought further into light. It has been stated that the bill, which is currently going through the House of Lords, will protect children and adults online by making social media companies more responsible for their users' safety, forcing popular sites such as Twitter to remove all illegal content. I wanted to take a closer look at how harmful content has been impacting the younger generation by speaking to a community youth worker in Manchester.
I think it's easy for people that work outside of that industry to say that it's all blown up over the internet and it's not as big of a thing as it is, but I think when you work with kids you realise how impressionable a lot of, especially young men, like you realise how impressionable they are. If I was to give my honest opinion, I think the parents of young people need to be more proactive, because you can't control what is on the internet. You can't control what people using their free will decide to say and upload to the internet. But you can control your own kids' internet usage. And I think that is probably the most surefire way of trying to keep a young person safe on the internet, is being conscious of what they're using the internet for and who they're exposed to.
We reached out to Labour MP Lucy Powell for a comment on the bill, but received no response. Conservative councillor Adam Keeley said, "It's fair to say some of the comments Andrew Tate has made has fuelled the rise in misogyny in schools, and each school will implement their own behaviour policies to deal with this."
And next, we look into a BBC documentary which has caused controversy throughout India.
In light of the BBC's recent documentary, India, the Modi Question, there has been uproar amongst the Indian population after the Indian government swiftly banned the documentary from being shown in the country. The documentary details the 2002 Gujarat riots, as well as other recent religious conflicts between Hindus and Muslims, and takes the view that Modi did not do enough to prevent the bloodshed.
As of now, several students across universities in India are protesting against the unjust ban of the documentary. Many have been detained for trying to screen the documentary, and several face suspension. It is a significant purpose because this ban of the documentary is an obstruction of freedom of speech and free press. While the nature of the documentary, which by the way has not violated any laws to be made illegal, is not the question here. It's the fact that it's being forced to make the people choose their own media rather than being free.
However, some former journalists in India believe that there is a deeper significance behind the ban, as well as the timing of its release by the BBC.
See, in 1984, when Mrs. Gandhi was assassinated, there was a huge riot against the Sikhs across the country. Did ever BBC after 20 years come out with any fresh evidence or anything? Nothing comes out about them, and it comes out about Modi at this time when he's going for the second elections, 24. So it smacks of some mischief.
After this concern was raised in the House of Commons, Leader of the House Penny Mordaunt expressed that the BBC is independent from the government in its views.
And that's today's news. Thanks for watching.
Join us next time on Quays News.